Let me introduce Marc Noet, CEO of Dataprovider. He's brought one of his team with him today, and we're going to talk about structuring your data so that you can learn more from your interactions with the web.
Thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me and being in this room, listening to our story. Let me get something up on the board. So, my background is actually, I come from the world of advertising. And one thing I learned during that period when I was running a large advertising agency was customers don't actually want to buy products. Customers actually want to be helped. Customers have a problem and they are looking for a solution. And if you want to provide a solution, then probably you also need data intelligence. So if we zoom into the hosting industry and domain industry, the first resort of your data will probably be like Google. Do a search in Google. I have brought some with me on the board. So like who's using Wix as a CMS and has its domain at 1&1? Then you can actually see the results. Or are there any online stores still out there without SSL? Or who's selling shoes at GoDaddy and uses GoDaddy as a hosting company? And we can go on and on and on and on. Basically, what you're seeing is the results Google is delivering to you will not give you a lot of intelligence where you can actually run your campaigns, execute on, actually build a strategy. Which leads to frustration. It's actually frustrating to get all this data in Excel sheets and spending a lot of time. And basically, that's where we come in. So we're a company called Dataprovider, and we actually index the web, compare us with Google, compare us with Bing. We do this on a monthly basis. So every month, we update our database with more than 100 million active websites. And what we do is we gather the intelligence on these websites. So we structure the data, and we are actually scoring these websites. And we're gathering a lot of unique insights about who are your customers, what technologies are they using, where are they hosted, who's registering, are there any domains or DNS servers they are using. And if you look at the full spectrum we deliver, we actually always say like we want to be the painkiller in finding business critical data gathered from the web. So to give you sort of insight how that would work, I actually have some really good examples which actually shows the power of the data we have. So let's start with the first example. So let's zoom in at the company called SoftLayer, you're probably all familiar with. And let's zoom in specifically on the .com region. So here we go. So I'm now actually in the data platform at Dataprovider. And the first step we're going to do is we're actually going to select the top level domain is .com. That actually is resulting into 34.8 million active websites. So I'm actually talking about active websites, not domains, active websites. So what we actually wanted to do is we want to zoom in into SoftLayer. So there we go. So the hosting company is SoftLayer Technologies. And if you look at the number, we went from 34 million all the way down to almost like 300,000. Now, what I can do is I can actually go a step deeper into the data. So I can actually tell the system I'm really interested in who's the registrar. So who actually owns the domain? Is it SoftLayer or are there any other companies? And now the beauty of our intelligence is you can do this in only 3 seconds. Or if you have a really fast connection, maybe in 2. And it can generate. So you actually generate the stats or you can pull the data to you. And then you can process it. So you can actually start executing on the data. So here's another example we brought. So uncover domains that actually use a proxy service. So these are domains that are actually registered, not by the company, but they're registered by a proxy service. So who's actually behind this domain? So let's do the math again. Here we go. So the first thing we'll do is we'll select the data from domains by proxy. It actually relates to 4.2 million. Now we're going to add a filter. So we're actually zooming in into the United States. And we'll put another filter on that, which is the region. So let's go to the region of Nevada. What I now can do is I can actually add another filter. And I'm telling the system, well, I'm actually looking at online stores. So I want to know which of the online stores in Nevada is actually using domains by proxy. And now I can keep on adding new information, SSL certificates. I can even add a company name. And this is where it gets really interesting. So we index the web. And if you look at our technology, we understand the web. So we use robotics, which are artificially trained. And they actually understand languages. So currently, they already understand 30 languages. It's including Japanese, Chinese, English. And by indexing the web and the active websites, we can actually gather the company information as well. So they register the domain. You don't know who the owner is, but they actually have an active website saying, hey, I'm John. So we can actually add some extra information to that as well. So can we actually contact these people? So can we actually figure out what the address is or what's the phone number? And we can add social media accounts. So are they using Facebook? Because if they are using Facebook, I can actually execute on that. I can actually reach out to them. So here's another totally different idea. This is the new TLDs, and you're probably all familiar with them. So there is a large discussion in the industry on how active are these domains. So it relates back to 21 million, a bit more. And what we now can do is we can actually pull the statistics. So we can actually zoom in into this full data science. So we can actually say, like, there are about 7 million active new TLDs. But if we look really closely, you'll only see there are 3.5 million domains with an active website. So you can forget about the rest. It's the 3.5 million that actually holds content on their website, which is small. I can tell you from the intelligence we have for the work we do for other TLDs, normally that would be around 45, 50%. So it's still small. It's growing, but it also looks like a bit of speculation. So let's say you're a hosting company. And you're a hosting company and you want to upsell. You want to upsell SSL. So you can actually build the data set for that. So here's an example. We zoom into the United States, and we'll actually say we'll tell Dataprovider, I'm only looking for online stores. And I'm actually looking for online stores and that are also privacy sensitive. Now, most of the online stores are. So you're actually sending information through the web to the website. And now one thing I want to discover is I actually want to see online stores that don't use SSL. Will you buy at an online store without SSL? Will you actually go into the process? So now, if I would be a hosting company and I would be a one-on-one, I took that example, I can actually, as one-on-one, as a user, I can zoom in into my own base. So at this moment, one-on-one actually knows around 4,000 are actually online stores without using SSL. This is an actual example. So these guys actually sell their photo lab, and they also sell books, printing books, and you can do that online, and it's unsecure. So if I would be one-on-one, I would reach out to these guys and actually sell them an SSL certificate. So here's the last example. Selling shoes at Wix.com. This is where we this is where I am comparing Dataprovider to Google. So we almost use the same methodology. We have the same intelligence behind it. So what I can actually do within Dataprovider is I can actually figure out who are the people using Wix and sell shoes online. So here we go again. So we'll put up United States. And as you can see in the top left, I actually typed in shoes. And now the system already knows, like, if you're looking for shoes, then you might be looking for boots as well. So it will give you all the suggestions. It's basically the neural brain of Dataprovider. By telling Dataprovider a piece of information, it can actually figure out what you're looking for. So let's zoom in again, and we'll say the CMS system needs to be Wix. So here is Wix in the United States related to shoes. It actually relates back to a bit more than 2,000 websites. Now, what I want to do, there are also a lot of blogs about shoes. And you have maybe people that have a shoe factory, something like that, that don't sell shoes. So we'll add the filter again. Online store is true. And this is an actual website, Wix site. They sell shoes online. And to prove that, here's a piece of the code. That's actually a Wix site. So you can filter down everything you want to know on the web. You can structure it. And we already pre-structured the web. So it's basically adding the filters to the data set, to the web. And that can actually filter down and create the set for you. So this is basically Dataprovider. Now, Søren and I had a nice coffee in, I believe it was May, in Madrid. And there's a fun project within Dataprovider where we actually try to print out the internet. So, and in one of these projects, we actually created a lexicon, a printed lexicon on the hosting industry. And this contains like 10,000 pages. And before our coffee meeting in Madrid, I actually sent a summary to Søren and told Søren, this is what we have. Maybe it's interesting for the World Hosting Days. And it's probably the nice weather we had on the terrace that actually got us the idea, why don't we bring Dataprovider to the public? So Dataprovider currently is being used by large corporation, blue chip companies like PayPal, GoDaddy, Symantec. So why wouldn't we open up Dataprovider and actually have users from World Hosting Days, users out there looking for statistics, use our data and create a really cool report. And that's why we are here. So today, we're actually launching the Cloud Factbook. It's the first version. It's still in development. We're still looking for feedback. So everybody who uses the Cloud Factbook actually can send us feedback. And to give you an insight and to give you an overview on what the Cloud Factbook is about, I welcome Christian on stage. So Christian is our CTO. So in the last 2 months, he and his team worked on the Cloud Factbook. And Christian, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the Cloud Factbook. Basically, it is like Mark said. It is a very simple version compared to Dataprovider. Very easy to use, and it brings you high-level statistics. So you can use it for free. You can use it to gain insights into a certain market or in a certain country. And we're going to, well, basically, we're going to show you around. So if you go to thecloudfactbook.com, and I will show the URL after the presentation as well, you can register by using your email address. You don't have to enter a password. Basically, we just need to verify your email address so that when we send out the report, you'll get it in your email box. So after proving you're not a robot and giving your email address and verifying, you end up at this page. Basically, this is the whole interface that you need. It's a simplified version of Dataprovider. So at the left, you can choose from 3 filters. And at the right, we will show you the statistics. So let's do an example. let's select a top-level domain, like let's select .com. And what you will see is immediately you get all the numbers we have. So just for your information, so every month we index over 260 million domains. Now, not every domain contains a website. There are many domains that don't contain anything. But there are also many websites that have multiple domains attached to it. But if we look at all these websites, all these domains from these 50 countries, they only end up in like 52 million unique websites using a .com. So there are more .com websites out there, of course, but these are the ones that are actively being used. Now at the right, that is where we show the statistics. So let's go over them very briefly. So first of all, here you have a breakdown of all the countries where these .com websites are. It's not where they're hosted, it's where they originate. So if you look at the contact page, for example, it would state an address in the US. So you can scroll over the page, and we also show things like the website type. So what kind of website is running on these domains? So many of them, they just contain content, like personal websites, websites about dogs. And then there's also like business websites. So many businesses use .com, of course, so like 27%. In these cases, in Dataprovider, we also have like the company name, the street address, phone number, stuff like this. But here we only show the high-level statistics. So you can scroll over the page, and then you can see how many websites are mobile optimized, how many are not, where are these .com websites actually hosted, where are they registered. In Dataprovider, our existing clients, for example, they use it to select a registrar and then see which customers host where. And hosting companies, they use it, for example, to check how many people are hosting at my hosting company but are registered elsewhere. That's not what you can do here. This is just for statistics. You can also see what kind of operating systems are being used, what kind of web servers are being used, all that kind of information. And then what you can do is you can apply more filters. So we were looking at only .com, but now let's zoom in a little bit. So I'm entering like, I want to see all the .com websites that are hosted at GoDaddy. And then the number goes down again, because basically you're zooming in to the specific hosting provider that hosts .com website. So here you can see, for example, the number drops to 10 million. And now at the right hand, you can basically choose the filters. So you can choose all the fields that you want to have the statistics from. So in Dataprovider, we have over 150 of these, but here we only selected the filters that are interesting for hosting. So there are lots of hosting fields in here. Then by adding new filters, you are building your own factbook. So you can add as many filters as you'd like, and then when you're done and you have the numbers, you press the email factbook button. And what will happen is we will generate a report, only in a few seconds, send it to the email address that you used to validate your account, and then you'll get an email. It's as simple as that. And with the email, there is an attachment. And that attachment is basically what we call the Cloud Factbook. So it's a PDF of about 2 MBs, 3 MBs, and you can print it out. And I'll go over it very briefly, because you can make it yourself after this presentation. So it contains an introduction explaining how Dataprovider works, how we come up with all these domains, what exactly is in there. And then there's like the charts that you selected. So in this example, I selected all the .com websites out there that are hosted at GoDaddy, and you'll get a breakdown. So with the geolocation, with the content, with the marketing information, like what kind of social media accounts are being used on the home pages. And then all the fields that you select are in this report. And then when you're done, you can create another report. So as we said, it's for free. If you have any feedback about the tool, or if you're missing something, don't hesitate, just contact us. And I'll help you enjoy the tool. Are there any questions? Because we have a guy with a microphone who can...
So, thank you, Christian. So basically, this is the tool. We actually launched it. It's open. Everybody can use it. So if you go to thecloudfactbook.com, everybody can now start generating reports. You can do multiple reports. And it's the first version. So what we are actually also looking for is give us feedback. Give us feedback on what you're missing in the Cloud Factbook. What kind of data are you looking for which you can't find in the Factbook? So we can actually add it. So for us, it's a really good exercise, and we're really interested in how people are going to use this. So thank you very much. And this is it. We still have some time, so if somebody has a question. Nobody has a question, then it's clear to everybody. I hope you enjoy the Cloud Factbook. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marc.